Hello everyone and welcome to this Accelerant screencast on the installation of Oracle EPM. So if you don't know what EPM is, EPM stands for Enterprise Performance Management. So it's a robust business intelligence software that could really take your company miles ahead of the competition. So in order to install EPM, you have a few dependencies that you want to take care of. You're going to need Java 6 for sure. So I'd recommend downloading Java 6U45 from the Oracle website. After Java, you're definitely going to need Oracle Database to manage some of the major components of EPM. So you definitely want to download the one that's compatible with your architecture. We're installing EPM 11.121, so right now you really want to get 11G because 12C isn't quite tested yet for EPM. Next, you want to get EPM. So in order to get EPM, you want to head over to edelivery.oracle.com and you want to type in your username. Okay, please accept the terms and restrictions. And you're going to select a product pack. So I'm going to be selecting Oracle Enterprise Performance Management System. And I'm going to select it for the Windows 64-bit platform. So once I do a search, I see at this time only 11.122 and 11.123 are available. So you're going to want to get the installation that's correspondent to the version that you want. I do have 11.121, but that's from a past download. And if you want to follow along and you don't have 11.121, you're going to have to contact the Oracle support to get 11.121. So you're going to want to download most of the files, if not all of them. I just recommend downloading all of them and extracting them. So when you extract the files, you extract them to one folder. So I've already gone ahead and extracted all the folders to this one folder right here. I just renamed it as Hyperion iDump. So to start the setup process, you're going to navigate down to Install Tool, and you're going to double click. There's a probability that you're going to see some issues. Okay, so take note of this error right here. Hard to get around. So user account control is a Windows access control system, which you're going to want to disable to continue installing EPM. So to get to that, I would just recommend going to the search bar and type in user access control settings. So change user account control settings. And I'm going to close this console window for now, and I'm going to slide the bar all the way down to never notify. Now, under normal circumstances, you definitely don't want to do this. So it says I do need to restart. I'm going to speed up the video just to get you back to our current state. So we're back after the restart, and I'm going to proceed with the installation process. So I'm going to open my setup folder, and I'm going to go back down to installtool.bat, and I'm going to double click. And hopefully things will go well. And it looks like it is going well. So let me get this out of the way. So that's a good sign. The console says all installation prerequisites have been met. All right, so all the prerequisite checks make perfect sense. And I'm gonna just really take the default values here. I am going to choose components by tier just to make things a little more clear on the architecture. And I'm just going to accept everything. I'm going to install the entire EPM suite. But if you want selective components, you're just going to have to uncheck some of these. So be very careful. You want to include your entire tier when you want to install a portion of EPM. But right now I'm just going to take all of the defaults. Okay, so come across another error and it says I need IIS installed. So to install IIS, I need to go to the server manager. And I'm going to have to add the rule. So I'm not going to proceed with the installation. And I'm going to fast forward this, just so you don't have to watch all of it. Okay, so we're back, and everything looks like it's installed, but let's scroll down here and there to verify that. And it looks like everything is good. And now we could just finish and exit out, but I would strongly recommend we continue configuring all the products. So let's go ahead and do that. Everything looks good so far. Okay, so in this case, we want to create a new instance, and we're going to do that right here. So EPM uses shared services, and shared service is a provisioning tool to make users and backups. So let's do a first-time configuration of shared services database. So we're going to need to enter these parameters correctly. So I've opened up SQL Plus, and we're going to create a user that we can use for EPM. So I'm going to say create user EPM meta identified by EPM meta. And I'm obviously going to have to grant privileges to this user. Now, you're going to have to consult your respective DBA for the specific grants that you want for your installation, but I'm going to go ahead and give all privileges to this user right now. And I'm also going to give sys DBA. And I'm also going to give sys DBA. Now you really wouldn't want to do this in your installation, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this to kind of make this a lot smoother. So as you can see, the configuration for all these components is pending, and we're going to have to take care of all of them. Now I do want to use Windows services for all the configured components, just so I can have further control over them just from my standard Windows services console. Looks okay. Okay, so this first wizard is for the reporting and analysis framework. It's going to create its own respective directory and its own port range from 6800 to 6805. And all this looks good. So I'm going to create an admin user for the entire EPM system. Now WebLogic will be installed on port 7001. And I'm going to make the admin user admin. Okay. So it's going to set up different ports for each component. Now, some people like to have all components on the same port, but that's a different setup entirely. So for now, I'm just going to stick with different ports for different components. Okay, so now it's going to install the server data file location. So when you do a level 0 data export, you expect your data files to be saved in this directory by default, unless you specify specifically. I'm going to keep the defaults for the Essbase instance name, the Essbase server port number, and the SSL, and the starting and end ports. I'm going to accept the defaults for the performance scorecard and the defaults for strategic finance. And I'm going to enable it as a web service on 7750. And I'm going to accept the defaults for reporting and analysis services. So I'm going to switch to using IIS instead of Oracle HTTP server. It's asking me to enter a domain user and a password. I'm going to click Next. And I'm going to accept the defaults for financial management. And I'm going to need to use our available server for FM. And I'm going to need to register that server. And I want to configure IIS for all of these components. I will accept the defaults for the financial management web application and the defaults for Smart View Provider and the defaults for lifecycle management, and so on and so forth. So when you install Oracle, you're going to want to use your Oracle support password so you can get all of your upgrades. So this is the password that I'm setting for the admin user for shared services. And I'm going to click Next. And Next again. And that will begin the configuration process. I'm going to accelerate the video just so you don't have to see all of this. Okay, so it looks like the configuration's all done. Now we just want to check to see if at least some of the components work. Let's go ahead and finish. That exits out the setup. Let's go to the task manager to see if some of the services are running up, or the processes. Okay, I don't quite see anything yet. Let's check the services. Okay, it doesn't look like anything's started right now, so let's go ahead and start first the Essbase engine. Alright, essbase.exe. And let's start some of the critical services that we want to test. Now I want to test foundation services, which is basically the application service for shared services. I want to test Essbase administrative services, and I also want to start provider services. Now we're going to test provider services in a different tutorial. So for right now, we're just going to test foundation services and Essbase administrative services. All right, and now for Essbase administrative services, click and start. All right, I'm going to start provider services. Okay, I'm going to take a look at the task manager to see where everything's at. APS stands for Application Provider Services. EAS stands for Essbase Administrative Services, and this is obviously Foundation Services right here. So it looks like our three services have pretty much allocated the memory that they need to operate. So let's go ahead and start testing them. I'm going to start by testing EAS. So I'm going to go to the shortcut in EPM system, Essbase, Essbase Administrative Services, and the console shortcut right here. Okay, so I need to establish a server. The port number ended up being 180, and now I'm going to add the Essbase server to EAS, which this should be it, and I'm going to enable single sign-on. It looks like I was able to connect. So let's expand the node in the application, and let's go ahead and start an application to see if that's working. Looks good. The application should show up under the Windows Task Manager as ESSSVR.exe. So it looks like it's allocated its memory and it's running. So EAS is pretty much tested. Let's go ahead and open the outline to make sure. All right, looks good. And we'll close it. No, I'm not going to make any changes. I'm going to close the window. Let's go ahead and test shared services to make sure that works okay. So more than likely, your Internet Explorer isn't quite configured to load all the JavaScript that appears on the shared services page, but let's go ahead and test that out. It's under Foundation Services and the shared services URL. Okay, looks like mine opened by default with Chrome. And it doesn't look like it's loading, so I'm going to replace the host with localhost. Even that didn't work. I'm going to switch over to IE. So Chrome isn't quite a supported browser for shared services, but Internet Explorer is. All right, looks good. Looks like my IE might be configured for the JavaScript console. All right, so that's taking me directly to the shared services console. And it looks like it's connecting all right. Okay, so we see our application groups and our Essbase cluster. If I see ASO SAMP and the rest of the applications, and I'm pretty sure that shared services was able to connect to our Essbase server, and it looks like it has. Alright, thank you very much for watching this tutorial on the installation and configuration of EPM System 11.1.2.1. This screencast is brought to you by Accelerant Software, and we provide business intelligence services. So if you'd like to get to know a little bit more about our company, please visit us at www.accelerant.com. So I hope this screencast has given you some confidence in your implementation of EPM.